in your on your teams. So go ahead, Craig. I'll let you go ahead and kick off the call. Then I'll go ahead and introduce Doug, and Doug will turn it over to you.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for being here, Doug. Nice to meet you. Really appreciate you being on the call with us tonight. This started a few months ago. I started talking to Brian, met him at the last conference, and we became sideline buddies and said, I want to do something to give back. And we're a business that's 90% women, and we'd like to see more guys in the business and more guys believe that this is a real thing, a real business, and somewhere they can make money and make a career. And we've had some awesome guys in the business and some awesome speakers so far. And really, again, Doug, glad that you're here. This call is open to everybody, not just guys, of course, women in the business who have guys that don't believe or have husbands that they'd like to retire and get into the business. This be an avenue for people to bring their business and customer prospects and hear what a great company, a great family Juice Plus is, and become part of the family with us. So with that, Brian, I'll let you introduce Doug, and looking forward to hearing from you tonight, Doug.
Excellent. Well, thank you. So as many of you may know, Doug is a National Marketing Director here with the Juice Plus Company. Also married to Dr. Mita Ray, who also is a National Marketing Director. So plethora of experience in their household. But Doug's been involved since September 1994 in the Juice Plus Company. He's a kind of lifelong amateur athlete, right? Excelling in competitive as a sailor, as you heard him, and why he lives there on the water. Ski racer, a mountaineer, professional ski patroller, and as I saw, Doug, you were out with some of the old folks that you've done some ski patrolling in the past here, just over the last week or so, as well as a paraglider pilot. Doug has kind of the theory of let's escape the rat race, right? Let's follow the simplest solution. That's usually the best, both for ourselves, our families, and the world in general. And I guess one of his quotes is, if you're not living on the edge, chances are we're taking up too much space. So with that, I ask everyone that's on, if you can, go ahead and actually mute yourself. And with that, Doug, I'm going to turn it over to you, and go ahead, and we appreciate you sharing your wisdom tonight.
Perfect. And if I can ask you a favor, Brian, if you'll just kind of raise your hand or say hello. Like I know the call is about 30 minutes, and so I always want to honor people's time, and I believe that less is more. So if you'll just maybe give me a little heads up at 20 minutes or something, then I'll just know to wrap it up and kind of keep things short and let people get on with their busy lives. But thanks for inviting me on the call. As you mentioned, 1994, that was when I first got introduced to Juice Plus. And just real quick, my background was not the health and business world, building a large network of like-minded people. I was in the engineering world, and I worked on ships as an engineer. So I got to travel the world, and I liked shipping because two things. I only had to work 6 months of the year, and they paid me quite well while I was on the ship. And I appreciated that, because when I wasn't working, I was happy to come home, take the money that I'd made, and just enjoy traveling in the mountains of, the world, sailing around. And, I had a pretty good life. I was not married, I was unattached, and I had free time, and I had a good cash flow. And I think it's safe to say that, everybody on this call, no matter how much money you have, you'll always take a little bit more cash flow. But I'm also a big believer that the average person will take twice the free time for half the money. And when I was patrolling this weekend, a lot of people ski patrol when they're young, and then they kind of get that out of their system and they move on to their real life. And I was talking to a friend who was just sort of like, they're in the property management sort of, they doing home inspections, and right now in the Pacific Northwest, it's a boom cycle. And so they're working 80 hours a week, they're making good money, but they're always leery that like, this isn't going to last forever. And one of her questions was, I wonder if it would be better to just kind of like average it out over the long run, like how about just an average 40-hour week and just average out the money, like boom or bust, just average it out. And so I'm a big believer that if you offer people free time, that's really the most important commodity that people have. And, cash flow is nice. And then for me, the third equation is health. It doesn't matter how much money, how much time you have. If you don't have your health, what's the point? So those are, I kind of like, from the concept of keeping things simple, I like, when people ask me, what do I do? It's like, I help people improve their relationship to free time, cash flow, and health or well-being. Like, how about you? Which one would you choose first? And most often you get people say, I'll take D, all of the above. So, I don't, like, while we have a product-driven company and we lead with an amazing product, sometimes I find that the male population, if you will, let's talk business. It's better to talk about a business model sometimes to just get their interest, rather than talking about fruit and vegetable nutrition in a capsule. It's kind of a giveaway. People either turn on their filter and they're like, I'm not interested in a vitamin pill, or, oh yeah, my wife does one of those things. So, one of the things that I think with men sometimes is that, we have 3 doors we can walk through. Would you like more free time in your life? Would you like a better business model? Or would you like to improve your relationship to health? And, for me, I think anybody can work for the man or the woman, i.e., trading your valuable time for a certain amount of money. And nothing to take away from a job. I appreciated engineering when I was working that field, because I was a professional and I got paid fairly well for what I did. But after a while, and I think it's safe to say that anybody, unless you own the show, sooner or later, you're going to get to a point where it's like, you know what? I think I'm, and if you're a professional, or even not, if you're a hard worker, the one thing I had going for me was my work ethic. If you put, 100+% effort into what you do, most of us at some point realize, I think I'd like to be rewarded greater than what I'm being rewarded. But in the working world, you're limited into what that offers. So, one of the things that I discovered in this business is that a couple things. When I first got started, I wanted to earn what I was worth. I felt like in the engineering world, I was underappreciated for what I did. 2, I wanted the concept of, like, are you in a current situation where you could compress a lifetime's worth of work in the next 3 to 4 years? And I ask you to do the math. Like, do you put in a 40-hour work week, a 50-hour work week, 60-hour work week, whatever that is? How many hours a week do you work? And for how many more years are you going to have to do that until you decide, oh, I've reached that magic number and I'm done working? I've got a buddy who's a vice president at Boeing. He makes pretty good money, but as soon as he's done at Boeing, the big cash is going to stop. Of course, he'll have his pension, and that's nice, and you can live off that, but it's nothing compared to what he's earning by working every day as a vice president at Boeing. So he's kind of like, while he'd love to kind of quit working and take advantage of his vacation home on the Columbia River over in Wenatchee and, travel around with his wife, he's kind of like, it's that golden handcuff a little bit. Like, wow, it's hard to give up the money that they're going to pay me, knowing that when I do retire, I'm done. And the money, you'll take half, here again, you'll take half the money for twice the free time or more. The other thing that I like to talk to about, men in the world is and I'll kind of admit that it's more of a joke. It's not to be taken literally, but it is true in our business. I always like to talk to guys about the aspect of, we're men, and most men are attracted to women. Not all, but, for the majority, you're attracted to women. And, what if you could be attracted to women who were intelligent, good looking, and had the potential to generate large sums of money for you? And, it's kind of like good looking women, smart women that have tremendous earning potential where you could harness that potential. Why wouldn't you want to align yourself with a group of women like that? And I kind of say it jokingly, but that's kind of the world we live in. Because if you are a male and you look at this business opportunity, well, yes, let's face it, who does most of the shopping in the house, who does most of the caregiving. When people get sick, who looks after everyone, who raises the children. I'm not saying that it's always that way, because in our household, my wife's a little bit more driven than I am, and I chose to be the children's activity director when we had children. And I thought, like, it's the best contribution I could give to the world that I live in, is like being a part of my children's life. So I signed up to be the taxi cab driver, the activity director, the scheduler and all that. And I appreciate having the freedom. Why? I had already done the work. The money was already coming in. Whether I worked or not, the money was coming in day after day, week after week, month after month. And I didn't have to kind of show up every day to earn that money, so I could focus more on what I thought was the most important thing I could do, which is be a father to my children. So I've had that, I've had that luxury, if you will, because of this business. And so, all in all, when I got started, that was 23 years ago. People didn't realize how valuable Juice Plus really was, or the concept of food concentrates. It was so new that people looked at you kind of like sideways, like, look, I'm just going to eat my food, or like, oh yeah, that's just some other kind of fancy vitamin pill, and I don't believe in those. But that was a long time ago, and it wasn't this world where it was dominated by women. It was just me with my own personal vision of what I thought was possible, and I ran with the ball. So in terms of men getting involved in the business, it doesn't matter whether you're a male or a female. I think there's three things that have to happen. And number one, maybe the business conversation is what allows you to get into relationship with an individual, whether you know them or not. You can lead with the business conversation, but eventually there is no business unless you can understand what it is we use as a vehicle. So the vehicle is Juice Plus, and I believe that the company just kind of announced that the program that my wife, has created, this Shred 10 or Transform 30, but not just a product, but more of a lifestyle program, is now kind of, they've sort of indicated that that's responsible for a big portion of the company's current growth right now. But if you can't get behind the fact that eating more plants in a concentrated capsule form or in a shake mix powder form, if that doesn't grab you and kind of build your belief in the vehicle that you're using, then there really isn't a business model. Then it's just sort of like another way that people make money. So I'm a big fan of, regardless of what has you show interest, we are a product-driven company, because the business, you can't join the business if you don't believe in the product. If you don't eat, you can't share Juice Plus with other people unless you're eating it and you believe in it wholeheartedly. And that's something for a lot of people. That's like the first thing is, have you found something in your life that you truly believe in, other than maybe yourself? And maybe you don't even believe in yourself, and that's what's holding you back in this business. But belief in the product is a key. I can't say enough about that. Belief in the company. Who's responsible? Let's face it, we all live in a world where we've seen corporate entities that at one point we thought, oh, this is the greatest thing going on, and then it turned out it was the worst thing going on. So second, I think, is belief in the company. Like, if you're going to get behind the product, who's responsible for the company, and can you align with the values that this company has shared basically for the last 45 years? And that's a function of Jay Martin. And what I'd really like to say, especially for new people that are looking at that, we got involved when the company had a fairly young management base. The corporate office, we got to meet who they were. They were somewhat responsible for us and our growth with the product, and our success was a function of the corporate office doing a good job, being good stewards of who's making the product. Is it quality? Are they cutting corners? Are they actually going to pay you for the work that you do? And so for almost 25 years, I felt really comfortable with the management team. Now, Jay Martin is no longer the president of the company. He's turned that over to a gentleman named what is that guy's name? Paulo Teixeira. And one of the questions I had was, I had a great run for 23 years with a corporate team that I knew, I understood, and I trusted. But a lot of those people, they're in their 70s now and they're looking to retire. So who's the next leadership body that I can kind of align myself with? And recently we were down in Florida. I feel very grateful that the network that Mitra and I have built is one of the top 9 networks in the company. So when you look at when I started, the company had done $2 billion in sales. I started in 1994. The company had been around for about 25 years. So 23 years later, fast forward, we went from $2 billion in commissions paid out and a sales product going out the door to like now it's close to 12 billion in total. We're soon to approach $1 billion a year. They forecast that at the growth rate we're going right now, in 2020, this will be $1 billion a year company in sales. And so I look at like, wow, they did well with introducing products, water and air filtration, heat and smoke detection. They did $2 billion in sales, and that was great in a 25-year run. But with Juice Plus, in the second, let's say that just for simplicity, the second 25 years, they went from 2 billion, now they've done over 12 billion, and they're soon to be doing $1 billion annually. So belief in the company, I can't say enough about that. And for me, I found that Paulo and the team of people that he's put in place for the next 20, 25 years, it's going to be as good as the previous 25, if not better. And then the final belief, I think, is belief in yourself. Like, you don't have a boss. I mean, no matter how successful you've been working for someone else, that doesn't always translate to you working for yourself. And I wasn't really sure that I had the skill set to make this thing work. It sounded good in the beginning. I had total belief in the product, but I just didn't know if, I wasn't a business major. I didn't know if I had what it would take to generate a network and manage a network of people where, you had to kind of be the guy in the front of the room and people were going to follow you. And depending on what you did, you had to ask yourself, are you the best franchise partner on your team? And are you worth following? Like, do you have something to offer other people where they can get involved on their own and potentially create their own dreams and create a life designed on their terms? And for me, the last 23 years, I'll say that it actually happened in the first 4 years. I talked about compressing a lifetime's worth of work into a couple years worth of effort. The first 2 years, we didn't really have a system. We were helping the company kind of figure out how do we actually get Juice Plus to the consumer and what's the best way to create a program that works for the consumer. And then what's the next challenge was how do you create a business model that works well for the franchise partner? And so I was involved in all of that, like kind of chaos. And the first 2 years was sort of, 2 steps forward, 1 step backward. But then once the company created the preferred customer program where they ship it on a regular basis and you pay for what you're eating monthly. And then when they created the virtual franchise, everything fell into place. And to be honest, I've just been, for the last, if you will, 19 years, I've been living off the efforts that I put in from 1994 to 1998, where half the time we were going backward. But that's sort of, I share that from the perspective of, you can get involved today and make some good part-time income by building a consumer base. And if you focus on building a network, a team of people, let's face it, like when you look at Bill Gates, like why was he so successful? Did he have the best product? Some people would debate that. Like Apple, did they have the best product? Some people say yes, some people say no, but what they actually had was they captured people's imagination and they created a following. They created a network of people that believed enough in the message that sooner or later, it didn't matter what Steve Jobs did, or it doesn't matter what Bill Gates does today. There's a following of people and there's a network that just, you launch the next product into the network and it's already pre-sold, if you will. Look at Apple, the iPhone. It's like, I don't know what edition they're on. I'm not an iPhone user, but before they even introduce the next iPhone upgrade, people have already they're loyal fans. They paid for it. So when you look at this business, don't look at it as like, oh, I'm selling Juice Plus, I'm selling a fruit and vegetable concentrate. Yes, that's the moneymaker, but the concept of selling a program like the Healthy Living Revolution, and more specifically Shred 10, people, if you share that I educate people about a lifestyle program, they're like, oh, what's that? Whereas if you say, oh, I sell Juice Plus, they're like, oh, I don't want to buy Juice Plus. They don't even know what it is and they don't want to buy it. But people, when you talk about a lifestyle program, they're like, oh, what's that? And let's face it, if you are true to the program, if you're new, if you're a husband, if you're a man and you want to know, like, well, I don't know if this business is for me or not, the one way to prove it to yourself is to take on the 10-day Shred 10, get 4 months worth of shake, get 4 months worth of the capsules, and then 10 days a month. For the younger generation, we advertise, take 1 weekend off a month from partying. You start on a Monday, take the weekend off, on Wednesday you're done. And just see what happens when you actually use food as a weapon versus food as an indulgence. And belief in the product, belief in the company, and then belief in yourself. And for our network, we focus on teaching people about the program, the skill set that we teach anyone. I was not a salesperson. I was not a business person. I was a wage earner, and I took pride that I had a good work ethic, and that was really all that I had to work with. The enthusiasm and excitement for Juice Plus came from my own personal experience. But the vehicle that we use is Shred 10 and the Healthy Living Revolution. The skill set that we can teach anyone, and anyone can learn this. You don't have to be an expert in anything. You just have to be willing to take on something new. We're big fans of the Go Pro model as in terms of a skill set. And then the final thing is your mindset. You have to know, whether you're a man or a woman, what is your self-worth? Like, are you worth investing time and energy into a program that potentially could retire you in the next 2 to 3, 4 years? Or do you make up stories about yourself that you're not good enough? And the company, we've done a lot of different things. Now the company, it's kind of interesting. The company is launching a brand new program that's kind of like, you become a Juice Plus representative, you get access to the product, you get access to the pay plan, and now you can get access to a mentorship program that it will take you from wherever you are and teach you the skills that are necessary for you to truly understand the value of yourself. And I think that's like a Tony Robbins thing, if you will, unleash the giant that lives within all of us. And that's kind of like, I just got really excited. I had enthusiasm and excitement on my side. I didn't really care about the naysayers or the critics. I surrounded myself with the positive, and off I went. So when it comes to, back to this conversation of how do men get involved in this business, it's kind of like, how do men get involved in any business? I mean, let's face it, regardless of who you are, if you're a human being, your health has to be a priority. When you look at the world today, the food quality, the toxicity that we're exposed to, the stress, it's like, we're up against an insurmountable, enemy. I mean, it's hard to face the facts. It's amazing that we actually live as well as we do. But when you look at children, for me, I think the biggest message I could give a male, especially if you're a parent, is for a while it was moms on a mission. And I'm like, okay, how does a man relate to a mom on a mission? Not really. But most moms didn't get there by themselves. They're a parent. And so the other concept for me was, it came out of Australia, is like parents with a purpose. And to be honest, I can't say enough. Like when I have the trust of someone, when I get close enough to someone to talk about Juice Plus and the business opportunity, especially if they're a parent or anybody, we all had parents. If you're on the planet, you had parents, whether you're going to be a parent or not, you realize the value of parenting. And I can't say enough, Michael, that the biggest driver for me was, once I did have children, was that, like, wow, and I think Bill Sears says it best, we invest so much in children's education. We want to give them the best that we can offer them. But if you can't show them how to, generate optimum health on their own once they leave the house, what's the point? And when you look at kids today or young adults, it's kind of sad, especially when you see kids that should be thriving who are, for some reason, they can't get their health, they can't get their health on track. And there's so many factors that play into that. So, a lot of, especially if you have a relationship with a male and he happens to be a parent, it's like, what about your kids? Like, are you guaranteed that your kids have all the wherewithal to become healthy, thriving, contributing adult members of society? And if not, let's face it, the healthcare issue affects us all. I mean, we're all paying for it. We're all taxpayers. And so I'm a big advocate of like, hey, do your part. Figure out how to make yourself and your family as healthy as you can be. And whether you decide to join the business or not, let's face it, there's plenty of families who are struggling. I have young athlete kids. It's like, I don't know what I would do without Juice Plus Complete in capsules, because when you're running from school to practice to the gym and you get home at 8 o'clock and you left the house at 7, if you didn't bring it with you, chances are you're not going to find the nutrition that you need unless the kid goes to the grocery store. So there's a lot of different ways to look at this. I think that if you're a male, maybe you don't want to work with your partner or your significant other or your wife, but I valued the strength that my wife had in terms of doing this business, and then I valued the contribution that I had. So, and I'll admit, it wasn't always 50-50, but we were a team. We had a united front, and I'm sort of extroverted, so I'm happy to go out and talk to people and meet people and ask enough questions to find out if it's even worth exposing them to what I do. And if I can get close to that place where, I think it's worth, letting them know what I do and asking them if they'd be interested in looking at a quick 2-minute video or a 20-minute video, then, I can always have, and just because Mitra is a Stanford biochemist, that's not the strength of our relationship. The strength of our relationship is that it's a 2-person front. People use the term hook 'em and cook 'em. If you're a fisherman, I'll hook the fish, you cook the fish. And so you don't have to be an expert. I'm not an expert. I'm just enthusiastic. I do have 20 years of experience. And whether my wife is a biochemist or not, the value of third-party validation in this business, I can't say enough about it. So if you are a husband or a loving partner, consider joining forces with the woman who's introduced it to you and see what you can do as a team with a united front, rather than just like one person doing all the work, hoping that they can win the other person over. And it always kind of pains me when I see a woman who's so excited about what we do, and then she's got I'll just say it, a negative husband at home who's kind of who's holding her back because of his filter and his belief and his misunderstanding of the situation. He's holding back his other half, from being successful. Whereas if they kind of aligned themselves and here again, I think education is a big part. If you're a male, read up on network marketing, understand what network marketing is and what it isn't. Look at being an employee versus being self-employed versus running a traditional business versus hoping that you have enough money to invest in the market so you can retire. When I look at the world today, most of us, wherever you are, you're kind of thinking, man, I better just keep doing what I'm doing if it's working, because I look at most people can't afford to retire today. They're making good money. They're kind of maxed out on their lifestyle. But if all that money someday stops flowing in, how long can they live the lifestyle that they've created thinking that, the money's going to keep on coming? And the cool thing that I've discovered with Juice Plus is that we're never going to evolve beyond the need for more fruit and vegetables in society. The more technology we use, the more stress, the more polluted we make our environment, healthy living through chemical means, the more and more fruit and vegetable nutrition is going to become paramount. So it's not going to go out of style. And if you build a consumer base and a team of like-minded people that build all these individual communities of healthy people, in my heart, I just believe that this is the best gift you can offer people. And so I just encourage people, do the homework, understand, like, why is network marketing possibly your best opportunity to hit a home run in terms of making all the dreams come true in your life? Or for a lot of us, let's face it, if you're in midlife or in your 50s or your late 40s, there's a part of you that's figured out that, what, I don't even know if I'm going to get where I thought I was going. And so maybe I need to rethink this. And so I'm a big fan of just, you don't have to say yes, you don't have to agree, but if you don't have a plan B for creating the greatest life that you think you could live on the planet, you owe it to yourself to do your due diligence and explore why network marketing might be your ticket. And if not your ticket, maybe it's worthy of your edification so that you can pass that information on to your kids. And with that, I'm going to kind of just take a break and see where I'm at. And I don't know if you have any specific questions, but if you want me to cover something else, I can do that. But that's kind of that's my take on there's a lot of information we can share, but for me, it's been a great run, and I'm always grateful to kind of, share my experience and hope that it's powerful enough or beneficial enough for at least people to understand what it is we do, so that they can make an educated choice as to, like, yes, I want to get involved. If nothing else, definitely get involved in the product. Why wouldn't you eat fruit and vegetable nutrition in the capsule? It's the best way to supplement, bridging the gap between what we know we should do and what actually happens. And then if you have a positive experience with the product and you know that this stuff's for real, then, maybe you want to explore the aspect of creating a relationship-based network where, you can put in a couple years worth of effort and have it pay you years and years down the road.
So Doug, one question we like to ask all the leaders that we have speak, and that's, if you look at your business, right, the success you've had, or you and Mitra as partners in this, what are the three things that you say you do? Maybe it's daily, maybe it's weekly, maybe it's monthly. But what are the three fundamental things you would share with the people on the phone who are in the business now, that are the cornerstone of your success?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we run a big network, and there are constantly brand new people coming into the network. I always try and envision, I try and reimagine, what was it like 23 years ago when Mitra, she wasn't my wife then, but she shared Juice Plus over a dinner conversation with me. What was that like back then? And so for me, the first thing that I always want to make sure that I'm doing is that I never get tired of sharing the message of health with people. If I'm going to train a brand new person to talk to their friends and their family members or their colleagues or the people that they went to school with or the people that they don't even know in the grocery store line, if I'm going to encourage them to, have these conversations, I feel that it's my duty to keep having those conversations myself. So number one, always still be the best distributor you can be in your group. So never stop sharing this message. Why wouldn't you? It's kind of like, I saw a great movie. I'm going to share that movie with people. I went to a great restaurant. Oh, you got to go check out this restaurant. So I think it's very important that, I don't do it at the same intensity that I did in the beginning, but I never miss an opportunity to say, oh, hey, I don't know if this would be of interest to you or not, but based on our conversation, would you like to watch a quick video and learn more about, what it is what I do? Because I really haven't said that much. So I think that's number one, always keep sharing. Second thing, is about building relationships with your customers. It's easy to get somebody to say yes to Juice Plus. It's a lot harder to kind of do the work to build a relationship with that person, to find out that, have you delivered on their expectation of Juice Plus, or have you delivered on their promise to shred 10? What was the integrity of your word? If you said, look, if you do this, I'll do that. Are you doing what you said you're going to do? And for me, once you share that information, if someone says yes, they trust you enough to try Juice Plus, then building a relationship with your customers is a key component, if nothing else, to kind of establish, hey, you can climb up the marketing plan very quickly with our company, but if you can't maintain a consumer base, your money, you don't get a steady paycheck. You know, I promise the average person on a part-time basis that you can generate between $500 and $1,000 a month of income, like regardless of your background or experience. And I'll show you how to do that. But if you can't build relationships with your customers, if you're more afraid of them canceling the order than you are finding out what's wrong or what they need help with, it's not going to work. So I think, you know, building relationships with your customers, because in the end, then those customers, those raving fans, those are the most likely people who say, wow, I can't believe what this has done for the health of myself or my children or my grandparents or my parents. And they're the most likely people that are going to say, hey, I got a lot of people in my life that I want to share this message with. How do I do that? So always keep sharing the message. You know, you're either sharing the product message, you're sharing the business message, you're following up, you're always strengthening the relationships with your customers and your team members. And then I think finally, and I think probably this has been the hardest part for me, to be honest, is to keep investing in myself. Like when I was brand new in this business, a gentleman named Kerry Daigle, and some of you may know who he is, but I saw that guy and I said, wow, man, I hope that someday I can be like him. And one of the things that he mentioned is, it doesn't matter whether you're making $30 a month in this business or $30,000 a month in this business. Take 3 to 5% of that income and invest it in becoming a better version of yourself. And I say that I think that's been the biggest challenge, is because, I mean, I've reached a nice level of success. I mean, I have a very comfortable life. I've been able to provide for my kids everything that they've ever wanted. But there's, you know, as human beings, we're never satisfied with the plateau. Like I grew, I climbed up this peak, and then I got to a level spot. And I'm kind of like, okay, I'm going to rest here for a little while. I'm going to take, you know, enjoy the view. But then you go like, but you know what? If I climb a little bit higher, the view gets even better. And so, I mean, I started this business when I was 33 years of age. And in 4 years, I you know, for me, you know, my own definition, I kind of hit a home run. And the hardest thing for me to accept was to like understand that, okay, I'm not even 40 yet. What do I need to do to keep kind of adding value to society and being a contributor and being out in front, so that other people who are willing to make the change and want what I have, they actually have somebody who's worth following. And so to review, you know, always share your enthusiasm and excitement for, you know, whether it's the product or the business. You know, always find a reason to kind of strengthen the relationships with the people that you've met, whether they're prospects still or customers, because let's face it, we just got a brand new distributor. He went to an event that we put on in 2001. He was in medical school. Life got the better part of him. 2 months ago, he called us up. He's a successful pediatrician. He said, hey, I went to an event you guys did in 2001. I'm ready to do Juice Plus. You know, so 16 years later. And this guy's a pediatrician. He's an entrepreneur, and he just went to sales coordinator in 2 months. So, you know, do you think it was, I mean, we did not keep track of that relationship. He found us 16 years later, but obviously we left enough of an impression on him that when he called the company, he could remember, yeah, there was this young couple. She was a biochemist. He was a ship guy, da, 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 da. So always find a reason to strengthen a relationship. And then 3, always keep investing and figuring out how to be a better version of you, so that you can add value to the lives of others. You know, the wisdom of ages, you know, people look at me like, oh, you know, who is that guy? And I want to make sure that I have something of value to offer those people. So that would be the 3 things that I think, you know, make a big difference in terms of, you know, growing this business to be successful and allowing it to pay you well beyond, you know, I put in 3 to 4 good years up front. I've always continued to do that, not with the same intensity, but 23 years later, those first 4 years, I'll always remember, I'll always I just love the way this business works, having a consumable product where if you make a difference in a person's lives, 23 years later, because you made a difference in their life, you can still be generating a small financial gain by having made a difference in their life.
Excellent. Well, Doug, we appreciate your time. We're kind of at the end of our usual time frame. So we appreciate your input, and I love your wrap up. So with that, I just want to share, along with the beautiful view you're sharing there with everyone else out your back porch. We do this call on the second Thursday of every month. So, and Craig, please correct me if I'm wrong, but on May 11th, that'll be our next call. We have Scott Van Niekerk who will be speaking.
That's correct.
And then also on June 8th, we'll have Mick Daly speaking. So please, same dial-in. It's same time, 7 p.m. Mountain, 6 p.m. On the Pacific Coast. But please share this with your teammates. The more the merrier. And again, Doug, thank you so very much for your time. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much, Doug.
My closing comment is if there's anyone on this call where you kind of think, wow, I like what that guy said, it's not too late to buy a ticket to Anaheim and come visit us in Anaheim next Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I can't say enough about the last minute invitation to our conference where if you liked what I had to say, imagine that on steroids. And I just wanted to make sure you knew that my tower gardens are a work in progress here. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. We'll see you in Anaheim.
That was great. Thank you.
Ciao.
Thanks, Doug.